My Lord Lieutenant, Madam Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sue Walker and I am the Chair of OpenSight. And I'd like to warmly welcome you to this, our first centenary event. I'd like to welcome everybody who's been able to, and thank everybody who's been able to attend in person, as well as those who are attending virtually. On the 3rd of February, 1922, the Hampshire Association for the Care of the Blind was founded. It was a bit different back then, as we know. The British Empire covered 1/4 of the world and ruled over 1 in 4 people. Things have changed a lot, but I have to say, even though we have changed our name, the passion and commitment of all the staff and the volunteers hasn't faltered. Today, we are celebrating, is a day of celebration of centenary, and what we want to do is to raise a glass in cheer. Today also, we have a guest who is celebrating as well. We have Susan, who is celebrating her birthday. So I'd like to say, Susan Harvey, happy birthday. Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Also joining us today is Doris, who is celebrating her centenary this year, her own centenary this year, on the 15th of June. And I just want to say, wow, what an achievement, Doris. Well done. And later on, can you tell me your secret? Shortly, we're going to hear from David McKeague, our Chief Executive, who will take us through the great achievements of OpenSight over the years and take us through what a difference they've made to the visually impaired across Hampshire. Then, followed by that, we'll hand over to the Lord Lieutenant, who will say a few words before unveiling our commemorative plaque, and then putting this wonderful centenary cake. And then, ladies and gentlemen, ensure that you've got your glasses or teacups charged, ready for our toast, which will be just after 12. Before I hand over to David, I would like to hand over to our Stacey Poole, who is our patron of the charity, to say a few words.
There we go. Thank you, Sue, and hello to everyone there. And I'm so sorry that I can't be with you in person today for this very special event, but it's really wonderful that I can be part of it virtually. OpenSight is a really special charity, and I'm really proud to be the patron. And just listening to Sue and thinking about all the difference that you have made over the past 100 years and the lives that you have transformed, it really is incredible, and each and every one of you should feel very proud. I just want to wish OpenSight in Hampshire a very 100th birthday, and here's to the next 100 years of making a huge difference and transforming lives. Congratulations to every single one of you.
Thank you, Stacey. Before I hand over to David, I'd just like to say I hope to be able to see some of you face to face at one of the centenary celebrations that we have throughout the year. Over to David. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sue. I'd also like to add my welcome to the Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire, Mr. Atkinson, and the Mayor of Eastleigh, Councillor Cynthia Garton. Welcome indeed. And indeed for not only the people that are here face to face in the office, of which we figure there's about 40 people, which is fantastic, but also all the people that have joined us virtually. There were some 93 people registered to join. I see the numbers running at 54. That's not too bad. But I'm really delighted that we've been able to not only do this technological feat, which we honed and fine-tuned during COVID lockdown, which I'll come on to later, but this is just brilliant that we're able to have people not only here in person, but also online. So a little bit about the history. Well, as Sue said, it started back in 1922, but actually just before that, in the autumn of 1919, so just post World War I. No, I wasn't around then, by the way, so it's not a question of memory, I just wasn't around then. But back in autumn of 1919, members of the National League of the Blind disrupted a session of the House of Commons in an attempt to have their voices heard regarding the provision of services for the visually impaired. This led on to further protest marches in 1920, and eventually in the early 1920s, there was a formation of a series of associations for the blind across England. And of course, in 1922, on the 3rd of February, in Winchester, Hampshire Association for the Care of the Blind began. In those early years, HACB, as we shorten it to, provided a range of services, but mostly around supported housing and holiday stays for the blind. And these were done at Linden House in Lymington in 1943, and a couple of other houses were developed over the next 10 years in Andover and Leon Solent. So it's very much around supported living for the blind and holiday opportunities for the visually impaired. Back then, as Sue said, everyday staff and volunteers set about their tasks of encouraging and assisting people with sight loss, with the aim of enhancing their quality of life and increasing their independence. Whilst today our services may be very different to back then, the charity's passion to deliver high quality services continues, and staff and volunteers alike continue to support our clients to improve their quality of life and indeed increase their independence. We want to make a difference, and we believe we do. So I know that OpenSight, as we now trade, does make a difference to the lives of the blind and partially sighted in Hampshire. And currently on our database, if you like, our list of clients, we have over 3,000 people that we provide some form of service to, which is brilliant. In terms of making a difference, I will introduce later in this short section a video that will perhaps detail in perhaps more widely our services and how we actually make a difference. So as mentioned earlier, today our services are very different than they were back then, back in the 1920s and 30s. We have 10 community-based sight hubs. We provide and run 17 social clubs with the help of volunteers, 6 community-based working age groups. We provide information, advice and guidance and information days across the county, along with low vision assessments, which can be performed either here in the office or indeed at home. We also, and this has come out of, perhaps the driver for this has come out of COVID and the lockdowns, we provide a lot of advice and guidance for tech tips and smartphone tutorials. This is obviously due to the fact there's been a big demand for assistive technology, i.e. technology, and particularly our support of Zoom-based calls, very much what you're seeing here today. So the digital age and the advances in technology has had a significant impact on the blind and partially sighted community in terms of not only independent living aids and magnification equipment, but also in terms of how the blind and partially sighted access services as well, especially driven by the COVID pandemic and the various lockdowns here in England. The charity responded courageously to the lockdowns and further adapted our services digitally to allow our clients to access them, which was a lifesaver for many of our clients during this dark period of lockdown. It's worth reminding everybody that in fact during lockdown the charity did not close, nor did we furlough any of our staff, but we continued to operate as best as we could from home and continue to support our clients, for which I'm proud, and I'm proud of all the staff and all of our volunteers. In terms of the impact of COVID lockdown, very briefly, nationally there were some 4.3 million fewer eye examinations. 4.3 million fewer eye examinations than the previous year, and more than 235,000 essential eye hospital appointments were missed or delayed. This is often referred to as a ticking time bomb, as early detection and management, of course, is vital in trying to overcome any sight loss issues that a person might have. So as we exit the pandemic, I'm delighted to say that we're continuing with our hybrid of services, both face-to-face and online. And we plan to continue with very successful blind baking. And I'm glad to see that Penny Melbourne Brown has joined us. There she is waving. Hello there, Penny. Fantastic, very, very successful blind baking sessions, our book club, our quizzes, various children's Easter and Christmas parties, and various other meetups, all online, which is brilliant. So our work is very much in demand, and I believe that's going to continue as we're an ageing population, especially here in Hampshire. We're above the national average in terms of ageing population. And in fact, every day nationally, 250 people start to lose their sight. So I'm very, very confident that we will be, and our services will be demanded for the next 100 years. Okay, to conclude then, so as we know, this is our first event of our 6 months of celebrations, this Raise a Glass event. There are a number of other events. On the 11th of June, we've got a very large event at Marwell Hall and Zoo, which will be tremendous. I'm really looking forward to that one, at the zoo. I can't remember the last time I went to the zoo. Really looking forward to that. And for our clubs, both our social clubs and our working age groups, they will be holding their own 1920s themed tea parties. So if you do go to one of our clubs and you're not aware of it, make sure you find out and make sure you're invited to that. We will also be having our eye contact, which is our large exhibition. Normally you hold that every 2 years, but that got delayed, obviously because of lockdown. But that will be held on the 28th of September at St Mary's Stadium in Southampton. So apologies if there's apologies if there's any Southampton supporters or not Southampton supporters. And very finally, do watch out for our very, very special Century magazine that will be out in late March, which is going to have some fantastic content in it. I'm reliably assured by Terry, who's the editor, Terry Smith. But look out for that. It will be a bumper edition. Now, just before I hand over to the Lord Lieutenant to say a few words, just make sure people have got their glasses ready, cups of tea ready. It will be obvious. It will be obvious when it's due. Okay. Now I'd like to invite the Lord Lieutenant up to say a few words.
Madam Chair, Madam Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, we're all quite used to these sort of part hybrid in the room and on the screen. So very warm welcome to everyone in your homes. I've presented lots of honours during the COVID process with people sitting in their home and they've been holding the medal and I presented to them. And one thing that always amused me was a police officer that I presented a medal to, and in the chat line at the bottom, he put, "It's the first time I've ever worn a suit with my slippers." So sadly, I can't look over the screen, see how many of you are wearing slippers. But good morning, and thank you for inviting me to this very special milestone in your history. For a charity to become 100 years old is a remarkable achievement and a huge testament to your trustees, dedicated staff, volunteers, both past and present, who continue to work tirelessly to help your visually impaired clients. I'd also like to send my congratulations again to Susie for your birthday and Chrissy Lake, who's sadly not with us. And of course, your wonderful Doris birthday to come in June. But thank you. What a lot of people probably don't know is that Doris joined us in the 1980s here to help the charity. And I think it's very fitting you should be here at the very first event of the celebration. So thank you for being with us today. So may I start, Madam Chair, by wishing Open Sight Hampshire a very happy birthday. Which is wonderful. In Hampshire, we have an estimated 54,000 people, or 3.9%, nearly 4% of the population who are affected by some form of sight loss. So there is, as we heard just now, a huge need for the charity going forward. As Her Majesty the Queen's personal representative in Hampshire, a very important part of my role is to recognise and thank those who have made an exceptional contribution to our county. And actually, I think there's no better charity than Open Sight who fits the bill with that. So thank you very much indeed for what you've done for the people of Hampshire. Living with a sight condition can be very isolating, making often everyday tasks very daunting and difficult. And of course, losing your sight is very much a life-changing event for many. The charity should therefore feel incredibly proud that you've helped so many thousands of people across the county who have a sight loss condition, and to enable them to continue to have a very fulfilling life. But of course, as we've heard, there have no doubt been many challenges over the last 100 years, no more so than during COVID-19. I understand the moment the pandemic sort of really hit the county, you had to immediately suspend all your face-to-face services, close the office to routine client appointments. But as we've just heard, it's very exciting. You actually managed to adapt to the pandemic and get your staff operational to operate from home. And again, I know from other charities and indeed corporate organisations how difficult that is to get this IT infrastructure in place, because most of us had no idea what a Zoom or Teams call was at that time. I've spent the last 2 years spending my life talking to screens, so I'm really quite used to doing it now. But I think there is no doubt that the way that OpenSight will deliver services going forward will take advantage of this latest change because of the environment we're all quite used to. But what impressed me most of all about the charity was the very innovative way that you deliver the new services, where some 3,000 clients all receive at least one call and some 2 calls. As well as we just heard, developing the audio description videos, the blind baking. I look forward to hearing a bit more about that, and the book club. So very many thanks for what you have done and continue to do for the people of Hampshire. Every day, as we've heard, 250 people across Britain start to lose their sight, with the numbers of visually impaired set to rise significantly. So the size of your challenge going forward is quite clear for all of us to see. I'd really like to end by a sentence I read in your recent report, which I think says it all. Open Sight Hampshire will provide a lifetime of support and pathways to independence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so really lucky to have such a superb charity in our county. I'd like you all to start picking up your glasses. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to wish Open Sight Hampshire a very happy 100th birthday and best wishes and every success for the next 100 years.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy birthday.
Well done.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to ask you,
Bear with us, a little bit of stage acting here.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Right, so now I'm going to ask the Lord Lieutenant to unveil our centenary plaque, please.
Well, thank you very much. It's always quite a nerve-wracking experience unveiling a plaque when often you've never seen what it says on it, and also sometimes I open buildings and I've never even been in the building beforehand, and And occasionally when there are children around, I say to children, can you just come here, please, and read what the plaque says, just check it's got the right name on it. But anyway, I'm sure it has. And it gives me enormous pleasure and a great honour to be able to open the plaque or unveil the plaque to celebrate your 100 years. Wow.
So I shall just read that out on the plaque, so just to make sure it is. We've checked it and double checked it, Lord Lieutenant. So 3rd of February 2022, 100th anniversary commemorated by Mr. Nigel Atkinson, Esquire, Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the Lord Lieutenant to do one final thing, which is to cut our birthday cake, I guess, and we'll just wait to see that we've got the cake camera up. Yep, I think that's there.
Fantastic.
Cake, yep. So if you wouldn't mind just slicing
I
into
will.
anywhere along there.
Looks like sort of a wedding. I promise you, I've been married for many years, and my wife is sitting here. But anyway, as before, it's terrific and great honour to be able to cut your cake without. It's going to be safe, isn't it? Yes. Oh, look at that!
Fantastic.
Looking forward to eating that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Open Sight Hampshire provides a whole range of services to help people who live with a visual impairment, irrespective of their age, degree of visual impairment, whether they're registered or not, or how long they've lived with their sight loss. Many sight loss conditions are age-related. But in saying that, there's many younger visually impaired and blind people as well across the county. What we'd like to do as part of the Open Sight Hampshire 5-year strategy is to reach out to more visually impaired people who perhaps aren't aware of the fantastic services that are available either from Open Sight Hampshire or the statutory services provided by Hampshire County Council and other sight loss agencies.
We can help with benefits, grants, equipment, gadgets, family support and much more.
Open Sight Hampshire, celebrating 100 years of making a difference.
Thank you so much for your help and support with our daughter's application for Disability Living Allowance. We really appreciate your guidance and for the regular newsletters and updates from Open Sight.
Family Service has continued to provide support to our many families in many ways across Hampshire during COVID-19, been in regular contact with the specialist teacher advisory teams from Hampshire and Portsmouth and have received referrals from them. This has been fantastic and demonstrates successfully how different services and agencies can work together during these difficult times.
Our early years support group for families with visually impaired children aged 0 to 4 years meet every month in Portsmouth.
Our family services continue to help families apply for benefits and grants, making a difference to their children's lives, being able to apply for specialist play equipment, laptops and iPads, enabling them to learn independently, increasing their individual mental health and well-being.
Thank you so much. Willow absolutely loves it and can play with her brothers. We are so appreciative and it's so lovely to see her smile.
Yeah, we've just come to Itchen Valley Country Park. Haven't been here before, but both the kids love it. And Scarlett, my daughter, she's deaf and blind. And some of the bushcraft stuff we were doing, she had the biggest smile on her face. And then she got on the hammock, and I haven't seen her smile like that in ages. It was so wonderful. It was so lovely to see. We've missed our little smiley girl. Thank you very much.
visually impaired working age groups across Hampshire. Here's visually impaired and blind group members talk about why they like coming to our groups.
I was born with glaucoma and iridia, and I like to come to the group to socialise with other visually impaired people, and I like to come to see what technology things are going on.
I was born with partial aniridia, which affects the iris of the eye, and it's a thinning eye of the iris of the eye, and I have a nystagmus, which is a wobbling eye really. I love coming to this group. There's obviously the social aspect, which is important, making new friends, but we just exchange hints and tips about dealing with visually impaired, living as visually impaired people, and also from Zoe, all the sort of tips about technology, using phones and things like that. And it's very practical, and we meet each other outside the group as well.
Happy 100th birthday, OpenSight!
We run 22 social groups all across Hampshire, run by dedicated teams of willing, enthusiastic and experienced volunteers.
It makes all the difference in the world, and that is what you need. And it's very salutary to realise that you're not the one and only person.
We bring the information and equipment days around the county so that local folk who have a vision impairment and their friends and family are able to come along to have a look at and try the latest forms of technology and developments to help them to overcome the everyday challenges that their sight loss presents. Our next Information and Equipment Day will be held at Winchester Discovery Centre on Wednesday the 16th of March 2022. We have drop-in information hubs each month in the following locations: Fareham, Fordingbridge, Havant, Lymington, Petersfield, Portsmouth, Totton and Winchester.
Since lockdown began, we have adapted many of our services so we can continue to be there when it matters for anyone living with a visual impairment or experiencing low vision.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all okay. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Pam Bateman. I'm from Open Sight Hampshire. In normal times, and hopefully we're kind of getting back to a bit more normal times, we would have what we call across the county our sight loss equipment and information days. Unfortunately, obviously for the last year, for obvious reasons, we've not been able to hold those days. As you're not able to come to us, we brought Ben to you. Ben is from Optelec.
We have been busy hosting regular Zoom meetups, quizzes, tech demos and smartphone tips and tricks.
I think OpenSight have done a great job at adapting their working age group service during the pandemic. It was absolutely vital before for everybody to meet up and to share ideas and talk about any issues we've had. During the lockdown and during the period afterwards, it's been even more important for people to stay connected and to combat isolation. The Zoom meetings have done just that.
Well, this is it. It's as if we're actually seeing each other and sitting, inside like a meetup, rather, And as we can't do that, these Zooms are really good for us. I think it is. I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's as if I'm actually sitting by you in our meetup.
No, when you just think something positive is going to happen, it all falls apart again. Or do you think, oh no, God. Yeah. I must admit, I have found it a very difficult read. And I think if it wasn't for the group, I would have given up on it.
Absolutely,
Another great baking exclusive session with Penny Malvale Brown hosted by Open Sight Hampshire.
When I started this today, I had a clean apron.
It looks clear to us, Penny. Our baking sessions take place every second Monday of the month via Zoom. Our baking sessions are for anyone who is visually impaired or blind who would like to come along and learn new ideas and share their tips and interact with other visually impaired people.
Oh wow, that's massive!
It's like a massive cookie.
No, if I put it, you can't see my head.
Hi, it's Penny Melville Brown with Alan, my sous chef and wonderful husband, saying happy celebrations to Open Sight on 100 years of doing a sterling and outstanding job helping visually impaired people in Hampshire.
We continue to offer online support, services and events. Angie and Ella running the London Marathon 2021 in London, raising money for Open Sight Hampshire.
I'm Ella. I'm Angie. And we're raising a glass to Open Sight Centenary in 2022. Cheers!
Open Sight Hampshire's up-and-coming events. Thank you to This Girl Can and Sports England for awarding Open Sight Hampshire with a grant for our project, This VI Girl Can. This VI Girl Can offers great opportunities for visually impaired women to get active and feeling good. All our sessions are accessible for visually impaired and blind people. The current sessions running are self-defense classes and body conditioning sessions.